In this video, we'll be covering how to get started with images for your website. Hey, what's up? I'm Mark Bellini, and I'm all about achieving financial independence through real estate investing and online business. So if you're new to the channel and you're looking to achieve financial freedom for yourself, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button down below. It really does help me out, and I'll keep cranking out these videos. Imagery is a big part of a successful website, but working with images is not always easy, especially if you're just getting started. So here I wanted to cover a few things to help you get started. So we'll take a look here. So here I have a random image that I just downloaded off a stock photography site, and I just want to go over a few things. So the first one here is aspect ratio. And what that is here is I'm going to go ahead and be able to make some adjustments to this photo. So aspect ratio is basically keeping things in the correct ratio. And when you don't do that, you get these kind of weird images where they're kind of squished like this or kind of squashed a little bit. You never want to adjust a photo like this because it just looks off. It looks like there's something wrong with the photo, so it doesn't look right. So whenever you're adjusting a photo, you want to make sure you keep everything in proportion, just like this. So that's fine, but don't go in and start changing just one side or the other, or else it starts looking kind of wonky. So that is aspect ratio and something to be very aware of. The second thing I wanted to talk about is resolution. So if I pull up some information here, you can see the resolution is 72, and that is actually perfect for the web. Now, if you're going to be printing something and you're going to go to a professional printing facility, this needs to be 300 DPI, which stands for dots per inch. But for the web, 72 is what you want, and that works fine. Another thing I want to talk about here is Retina Displays. So have you ever gone to a website on your phone or on your computer that has like a nice display and the images look a little bit blurry, a little fuzzy, they don't look really sharp? That's usually because it's a lower resolution image and you have a high resolution screen. And so in these cases, what you need to do is, let's say you have a 50 by 50 image and you want to look at that on a Retina display, which is, a higher resolution. You can actually make that image 100 by 100 and then shrink it down to 50 by 50, and it'll retain that higher resolution. So I'll come over here and kind of explain this. So here, let's say this is the size that you need, and it is 120 by 105. So to make this higher resolution, what you could do is see what this is. Let's say you're going to use this image here, and it is 368. So that's plenty large, right? So 120 times 2 is 240. So it needs to be at least 240 in width for this to work. And this is 368, so that's plenty. So you could actually export this twice as large, at least. And then that would give you a higher resolution on a Retina display or a higher resolution phone and things like that. And you can see that here if I export. I'll hide this layer here. So actually, I can actually export, and this is what this X is here. So you can actually do like 1X, 1.25, 1.5, and 2X, 3X. So that's basically what this functionality is for. And so you can export these images at a larger size for these higher resolution displays. So that's why this functionality exists here. So something to be aware of when you're putting images on your website. What I do generally just to make it easy is like I will export an image larger than I need. Being mindful of the size of the image as far as the file size. But when I upload it into the program, I will shrink it down with code, and then that way it'll display really sharp on basically any display that it shows up on. So just something to be aware of, because it does make a difference. The third thing I want to touch on here is image size and quality. So let's say you wanted to put this image on your website. So I'm going to go ahead out and try and save this out. And it is huge. It is 6,000 pixels wide. And that is really, really, really big. You don't really need it to be that big. I mean, the 2,500 would probably be plenty, is my guess. And the reason is you need to be mindful of that is because large images really slow down your website a lot. And so you can see at 100%, this is 1.26 megabytes, and that's really large. And if someone is trying to look at your website on their phone, and it's gonna make your website completely drag. So you need to be extremely mindful of that. And the way you can do that is is shrink down the image size to something smaller to make it a little bit more reasonable. You know, here's like 2000. So there, 165.5 megabytes there, or not megabytes, but kilobytes. And then what you can do is go to this quality slider here, open this up, and you can play with this a little bit. So 100%, you know, that's back up to where it was. It's over a megabyte. So what you want to do is bring this quality slider down a little bit, not too low, because when you go too low, you really start to suffer in quality a little bit. So you want to kind of find like a happy medium for the quality here. And this kind of works for a website, like 130, something like that. That can work for like a large image on your website. That's a decent enough size. And if you don't have this quality slider, what you can do is save out, you know, whatever it is. So we'll go ahead and save this out. I'll just name this test here. Hide this, hide all this stuff here. And you can go online and find a app called Imageoptim right here. And what you can do is take this image, we'll see how large it is right now, 343 kilobytes. Right, so you can take that and just drop it on this Imageoptim app. And it makes it a little bit smaller. So it's saved 3.7. So it didn't make it too much smaller, but this is really helpful to kind of help lower the file size of your images. So just one little tip there. The last one I want to talk about here is image type. So you can save out your images in a number of file formats. So I'll go over them here. So pull this up. And the most common file format you're going to be using is usually a JPEG, because it can really shrink the file size down pretty small. It has really good compression. And you can also adjust the quality here. So at full quality, 100% size, this is almost, it's 5.5 megabytes. And the problem is when if you upload this to your website, it's going to take forever to load. And on mobile devices, it's just going to drag and never really load. So this is going to be a horrible user experience, and the file is way too big. So JPEG is a great way to scale this down. You can just lower the size of it like we talked about previously. So you can just make this like 30%. And right there, that makes it a megabyte. But you can come in here and adjust the quality of the image a little bit to make it a little bit more reasonable. So there you go, I could use that on the website. And so JPEG is going to be kind of your go-to. Now, if you need transparency, I will cover that. So what transparency is I will show you an example. So let's say you want like a headshot for your website of a person here. So we'll just do this. Mask this out real quick. And whenever you're saving out photos, make sure to crop out any of the information you don't need. So I just made that adjustment. So make sure you crop out all this stuff because you don't need it in your file. It's just unnecessary space and makes it a little bit larger. So go ahead and do that. And then if I try and save this out, see as a JPEG, it adds this white background. And let's say you don't want that. You know, let's say the background of your website is a different color. Putting this on there, it's going to look really bad. So what you can do is change this to a PNG with transparency and see it removes that white background. Now you might have seen there's a PNG 8 and a PNG 24. PNG 8 is lower quality. It has less color options available to you. So if you want, you know, the best possible looking photo, I would stick to PNG 24. So that is PNG. So I would say majority of the time you're going to use a JPEG and a PNG on your website. Those two are used all the time. But there is another option here, and that is a GIF or a GIF, however you say it. And this option does the same thing. It does allow for transparency. I prefer a PNG. For anything with transparency, I always use a PNG. But the reason this file type is special is because it allows for some animations. So you can actually, you know, create these little animations. If you've seen on the web where there's like an image that's moving, doing a little animation or something, so that you can do that with this file type. So if you need any little animations, this is going to be the go-to file type for that, generally speaking. And the last one here I want to talk about is an SVG, which stands for Scalable Vector Graphic. And it's a little bit different than images, and I'll kind of go over that here. So if I take this star, it is an SVG, and I can scale this to any size I want. And it stays really sharp. I can make it really small, I can make it really large. I can do anything with this thing, and it's always going to look super sharp and crisp on any screen, any device, always. It's going to look really good. Now, if I do the same thing with an image, I just took this screenshot, and I can basically scale it up larger, and see how it gets super blurry? So that is because this is raster based, which means it relies on pixels, and the vector is vector based, which means it's based on math, so it can expand and contract to any size, and it doesn't matter because it's not really relying on pixels, whereas a picture is. So a picture needs the information to scale, and if there's no information there, it's just going to get blurry like it is here. So something to be very aware of. Very important. So never scale your images beyond what the original is. So if I come in here and back out, and let's say I make this, I don't know, really large. And I take this image, it would look okay if I just scale it up like that much. That's not a huge deal. But if you're taking images and making them like way bigger than they should be, it's going to start losing quality, which is not great. So stay away from doing that, and your website should look pretty sharp and clean. Now, if you're working with WordPress, I want to give one more tip here, and that is SVGs are not allowed natively on WordPress. They don't work. So you can download this plugin called Safe SVG. Install that on your WordPress site, and it'll allow you to upload SVGs and browse them in your media library and upload them and have no problems. So just a little word of advice there, because that drove me nuts trying to upload SVGs years ago. So I hope this helps you with your images on your website. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below, and I will create more of these videos to help wherever I can. So if you like this content, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.